Hi there, students. So what we're going to talk about really quick is we're going to try to navigate to making a homemade speaker. So before we start building this, I just want to remind you guys that last time we talked about some of these important parts of the speaker, and those important parts probably included the magnet, the coiled wire, and then the speaker cone, that paper kind of cone that was on the outside. That all three of those parts work together somehow to produce forces that cause sound. Right, that's where we left off last time. So now we're going to build a homemade speaker. And it turns out that using just those three simple parts, we can actually make our own speakers. Okay, so I thought that we could try to build our own speakers today, and you're going to see a video recording of me making one myself so you can develop some observations from it. All right, so I tried building one of these before the video. This is what I was able to come up with right here. So notice we've got a speaker cone, we've got a coiled wire, and then I've got a stack of magnets here that I will hold up next to it. Okay, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to go through and we're going to build one of these our own. So before we go to that, though, I just want to quickly look at our PowerPoint here for a second. So before we start talking about building this speaker, I want you to think about, and I will make me a little smaller here. There we go. So I want you guys to think about um, how do you think building a homemade speaker could give us some more clues about what is producing the force or the forces that cause speakers in general to vibrate. So think about why is building this speaker important, right? How can this maybe give us some more clues about what's producing the force or those forces that cause the speakers to vibrate in general? All right. Some things that I might look forward to hearing from you guys might be that, when you build things, sometimes you can see how the parts fit together. We can figure out how the most important parts, we can figure out the most important parts inside of the speaker. We might be able to see if the wire and the magnet are connected. And then we could also see where the electricity is going inside of the speaker. So those are some things I might look for. Um, Before we start building, I just want to preview a few of the instructions here. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so here are a few of the instructions. So what we're going to do is we are going to build our speaker. We need to wind some coil into a wire or wind some wire into a coil. And I do it about 20 times around this battery that I have. And we're going to wrap each end of the wire around our coil 2 times to the end of it to hold it together, leaving at least 3 inches of wire loose on each end. After that, we're going to use some sandpaper to rub off the enamel that's on the ends of the wire. All right, and you should be able to see the copper that's kind of exposed underneath. And then we're going to tape that to the bottom of our cup. After that, we're going to, and I will hide this here, we're going to attach 2 ends of wire with the copper exposed to 2 alligator clips at a sound testing station. And then we're going to put the magnets near the wire and see what happens. All right, so let me make me a little bit bigger here. And that's what I'm going to do with you right now. So I've got some new materials. I've got my cup, I've got a battery, all right, and I'll tip my screen down. So I've got a cup, I've got my battery, I have my alligator clips, my magnets, a little bit of sandpaper, my magnet wire right here, and then some scissors and some tape to complete everything. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this off of my little book here, and we're going to build this. So I'm going to first start with that magnet wire. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this magnet wire off. There we go. And I'm going to grab my battery, and I'm going to leave, probably about 3 or 4 inches exposed like this. And then I'm going to take the rest, and I'm going to just start wrapping it up. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, we're halfway there at 10. And I'll go a little faster. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Got a little stuck here. 17. Right, and I think that's where we're going to stop right here because it looks like we got a tangle in here. So we're going to stop right there at 17. I'll take my scissors here. I'm going to cut it off right there. All right, so now I should have my battery with the wire wrapped around it and then 2 ends sticking out. So I'm going to take this wire, I'm going to kind of try to shimmy it off the not the magnet, the battery now, because I'm going to take this wire and I want it not be with it. So I've got the wire off. And then I'm going to take these two ends, and I'm just going to kind of neaten up this little coil here. I'm going to take these two ends, I'm going to wrap them around it so it so it can kind of stay together. So I'll take this and I'll wrap it around once and twice. This will kind of hold all that together. I'll do it again on this side. So there's once and twice. All right, so now you can see when I let go, all this is held together pretty well. All right, I then need to take my sandpaper and I need to get some of the red wire enamel off of these ends. So just to do that, I take this and I pull on it a little bit. And this helps get that coating from off of my wire. And as I do this, I'm going to start seeing some of that copper wire getting exposed. Ooh, clean up my my coil here. And you'll notice looking at that, you guys might see that a little bit more of that copper is exposed. I'm just going to do that to the other side as well. Take it, and again, pull on it, try to get that copper on it exposed. If I don't have that copper exposed, the alligator clips will have nothing to attach to, and we won't get any electricity moving through it. All right, so got them exposed. Move this off to the side. The next thing that I need to do is I need to tape it to my paper cup or my plastic cup. So I've got the bottom here, got it pressed right there. I'm going to get a little bit of tape here, pull some off, and tape it right to the bottom of my cup, just like so. So now it's attached, the two wires coming off. I'll move this over here. The next thing I need to do is I'm going to bring my iPad over here, and on my iPad I've got a song pulled up. The song is Drake Hotline Bling, and I'm going to go ahead and plug in my adapter cord here to the headphone jack. I'm going to take these two alligator clips, I'm going to clip them to each side of my speaker. Okay, so now I've got my speaker here. I'm going to play my song. And then you'll notice that as I bring these magnets closer and further away, you should hear the music. In the beginning, the song is quite quiet, so I'm going to move forward a little bit. If you listen very quietly, you should be able to hear something. I'm going to bring it closer. Maybe if I bring it up, you might be able to hear too. So you'll notice that as I do this, I'm bringing the magnets closer and further away from the bottom part. All right, so with that, we've made our magnet speaker. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and detach these here. So that is the basic process to that magnet speaker. Move these back over here. All right, so going back to what we're talking about here, so we just made that magnet speaker, and we got it to work, okay? But now there's a few things we want to do. So before we move on here, I'm going to put that off to the side here, but I'm going to show you the next slide here. So I'm going to put me in the corner. Okay, so I want us to look at slide 8. So before we start reading this, so I want you to think about a few things. So we know that in order to change the motion of something, right, we need to apply a force, and that force has to be unbalanced, right? So to move something, we have to apply a force, and it's got to be unbalanced, okay? So we need to think about in this system, what is pushing or pulling on the wire that's causing it to vibrate? Okay, so what is pushing or pulling on this that's causing it to vibrate? Think about that, right? And then how close do the parts have to be in order for us to detect that sound coming from the speaker? So how close do things have to be? All right. So in this next task, we are going to make a model. Okay. So before you move on to the next spot of our online learning activities, we need to complete this initial model of a homemade speaker. Okay. So in your science notebooks, I believe it's going to be on page 23. So it should be the opposite page of where you made your other model. So here's the model that I made of the store-bought speaker. On the other side of the page, it should be page 23. You're going to make a model of the homemade speaker. Okay, so make sure that you turn to that page 23. You can title the entire spread of both of these pages. You can title it Initial Models of a Speaker System. So out here at the top, I'm going to write Initial Models of a Speaker System. Okay. And then you can title this side right here that has our first model of the store-bought speaker, you can title this store-bought, and you can title this side where we're making our new model homemade. So we can establish that these are both models of speakers, but this is the store-bought and this is the homemade. Okay? As you're making those speakers, all right, I want to make sure that you're including the important parts and labeling them just like before, that you're showing how they work together and specifically what causes the homemade speaker to vibrate and make sound. Focus on that spot. Okay? If you need some help, there's an example right down here in the bottom left. Otherwise, feel free to make the model of your speaker in your notebooks on page 23, just like we did with the store-bought. Label those parts and then describe how they are working together and what are they doing to vibrate to make sound. All right.